Jeff Mussman, 15 Tri-Mountain Road. I join everyone else in supporting and urging passage of this particular motion. I do it partly because of what Austin said, and I want to be sure that between now and whenever the election is, there's going to be other opportunities to educate the people that were not in this room. I mean, I take what Jeff Lewis said, you know, we have 200 people here. I don't want to be, I urge that we pass it not simply to support the fire department or to support education in Nahat, but also to give an opportunity to the entire community. We are 200 out of 2,000. It should be the community that makes these decisions. So I urge that. I urge these educational sessions, however they're structured. You know, Austin may not like to speak publicly, but I think he ought to have further opportunities to speak publicly on this issue. So again, I urge passage. One last thing. I'm not sure that I agree strategically with Austin that we should turn down the $650,000 override. There is more here than simply the fire department. And again, I think the 2,000 people in Nahat should have that the chance to say something on that motion as well. So I'd urge 6C passage as well.
Paul Spurn again, Mayolas Road. I wanted to give Chief Antrim the opportunity to lay out this structure a little bit more clearly. If you wouldn't mind, I'm supporting a more ample override, but I think it's unclear to me, for example, whether we have two classes of employees at the fire department, full-time and part-time or on-call. And I wonder if you'd address whether we see it as our responsibility, the Nahat Fire Department, to recruit both cadres of employees, or are we a member and paying for mutual aid from other local fire departments?
Thank you, Paul. I will do my best. Sorry. I will do my best to clarify how our current staffing works and what I propose to alter it so that it hopefully functions better for the residents. And I do want to thank Jeff Mussman for his comment. You know, I do agree that all of the voters should have an opportunity to weigh in on this, and I do look forward to, if this goes to ballot, more opportunities to discuss this with wider audience, hopefully. So, Paul, our current full-time staffing is 8 employees plus myself, so there's 9 full-time employees. Every day there are 2 full-time firefighters on duty, and they work in 24-hour shifts. So there are 4 groups of 2 employees that work 24-hour shifts on a rotating basis. So, for example, the firefighters that are on duty today, they'll work a 24-hour shift, then have 24 hours off, then work another 24-hour shift, and then theoretically have 5 days off, which almost never happens. And we rely on those full-time employees when they're off duty to continue to respond to every single emergency that arises because we need the staffing. The on-duty staffing is only sufficient to maintain the equipment and the apparatus in a state of readiness and to get it to the scene. It is not sufficient to handle emergencies on its own. So we rely on a callback system to get the staffing that's needed to mitigate the emergencies as they arise. I hope that makes sense. The difficulty we've been having is that we should have 25 to 30 part-time firefighters. We we traditionally refer to them as call firefighters because they only respond when called. They do not work shifts. That is how the system has always worked in Nahant. So despite my efforts to recruit and retain part-time firefighters every year for the last 5 years, we only get about 2 or 3 who successfully complete the fire academy and then continue participating and training and responding to incidents. So when I started in 2021, we were at our lowest number of call firefighters who are active ever. We're down to 7, and we should have 25 to 30. We've gotten it back up to 14 call firefighters currently. You know, it fluctuates every single year, almost month by month. This year we had a number of retirees of our long-serving Nahant resident call firefighters, and with them all of their knowledge and experience goes. Of our current 14, 12 of them have less than 3 years of experience. Several of them are likely to be hired by other full-time departments. I just found out this week one of them was offered a job by a nearby fire department. That's the second one since January to receive a full-time job in another community. I frequently meet and talk with fire chiefs throughout Essex County. We meet every month. And I've had conversations with every single fire chief of a department in Essex County that traditionally relies on volunteer or part-time firefighters. Every single one of those departments has had to increase their full-time staffing or is in the process of increasing their full-time staffing because they're dealing with these same issues that Nahant is. The difference is that although Nahant is the smallest community land-wise and we have a small population, because of the population density, we have the fire risk of a small city. We have the population, so out of 351 municipalities, we're the smallest by land area, and we are number 33 on the list of those same 351 communities. We are 33rd as far as population density. Population density is what drives fire risk. The more people you have confined in a small area or housed in a small area, the more congested those houses are, the larger the fire risk. And it becomes critically important to have firefighters who can get to that fire scene immediately, within minutes, or you're going to lose the structure and potentially have it spread to neighboring structures. So what I propose to address that is increasing the on-duty staffing to 3. What that will do is give the on-duty crew the ability to organize and effect a fire suppression effort in the event of a fire. And we don't get a whole lot of structure fires in Nahant, but they do happen every single year here. So by increasing one additional firefighter on duty, it will give them the ability to more safely operate within standard procedures and guidelines. It will also leave the fire officer in Nahant when the ambulance transports a patient to the hospital. So that officer will remain in town and will have the ability to organize a response if there is another incident while the ambulance is out of town. And that is happening more and more frequently. I think in 2024, we had 20-something incidents or situations where we had multiple emergency incidents at the same time. That increased to 44 times in 2025. And since January 1st, we've already had 15 occasions where there have been multiple emergency incidents. Excuse me. Get thirsty when I talk. As far as call volume increasing, this year we are already 60 incidents ahead of where we were last year at the same time, mostly medical aid incidents. You asked if we were part of any organizations for our recruitment. So all of our full-time hires go through the Massachusetts civil service system. We don't pay into that. Residents, if they choose, take the civil service firefighter entry-level exam. They're then placed on a list, and when we hire, we call for that list and hire off of the list. That is how we hire our full-time staff. Our part-time staff, we do our own sort of outreach and recruitment, and we have more flexibility on who we can hire. But because of the way we are organized, reliant on a callback system, I cannot hire people who live further away from a mile from the Rotary, or they cannot get here in time. Additionally, there are things going on the other side of the causeway that are going to cause delays, further delays to our firefighters getting to Nahant and mutual aid getting to Nahant. The changes that have been made by the DCR to the Long Beach parking lot have already caused significant delays in the summer months of us getting help. And the proposed changes along the Linway corridor from Market Street to the General Edwards Bridge are going to further cause delays, not to mention the thousands of new housing units that are built in that same corridor, further increasing congestion. So we do have some need to be self-reliant because, as it was pointed out, it does take 10 to 20 minutes for our mutual aid partners to get here. One other thing I haven't mentioned that this is going to allow is there are mutual aid agreements in place all throughout Essex County, and they've been in place since the 1950s. And those are mutual agreements. So when our neighbors send help to us, they expect that we will reciprocate that when they need it. We do not have the staffing to reciprocate that, and we have not for years, to the point that our neighbors have pushed us almost off of their mutual aid run cards because they don't have the time when they need us to wait for our firefighters to respond to the station, and it's too much of a delay. When they need help, they need it immediately. The city of Lynn, every time we have a fire, sends us 2 fire engines and a ladder truck and at least 12 personnel every single time without question. And we can't even get a single fire engine to them when they need help. So this also will help us address that, holding up our end of our mutual aid agreements. I hope I answered your
Yes,
question,
you did.
Paul. All right,
Yes,
thank you.
did. Thank you very much.